Hi, I'm CJ Liu. Welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show, where we make spirituality practical, actionable, and fun. And today we have Philip Goldberg, who is the author of American Veda. And this is a wonderful book that I just read, and it talks all about stuff that I didn't know about how the Eastern culture, particularly the Indian culture, has had so much influence on the Western culture. So welcome, Philip. He's going to educate us today so that we can deepen our spiritual practice. Welcome.
Okay, good to be with you.
So I want to know what I found so interesting about your book is it just has a nice chronological background about how the Eastern culture has influenced us, particularly the Indian culture. Can you just do a high-level top hits of, decade-to-decade hits of what's happening?
All right, you want a chronology?
Yes, please.
Okay, the book and the actual story begins in the early part of the 19th century, when the first really good or the better translations and commentaries about India's spiritual heritage, books on Hinduism, Buddhism, and commentaries about sacred texts started to come into America. They were read by people like Emerson and Thoreau, had a huge impact on their philosophies and their writings. And then if you move forward in time, as I kind of do in American Veda, there are people in New England who started the New Thought movement. Madame Blavatsky, who started Theosophy, Mary Baker Eddy, who started Christian Science, later other people who started the Unity churches and the religious science churches. They too are all impacted by India. A big event occurred in 1893 when Swami Vivekananda, who was the first major figure from India to come here and have an impact, arrived, and he spent only a few years here, but established the first teaching institutions for the dissemination of Indian philosophy, called the Vedanta societies. And then later in 1920, there would be another important moment when Paramahansa Yogananda arrived and became the first guru who established America as his base. And he would be the most prominent Indian spiritual teacher from 1920 to his death in 1952. And along the way started his institutions and that are still alive, teaching his teachings, and published the autobiography of a yogi, which is to this day a very important influence.
And when I'm thinking of that, when I'm hearing the big stuff that happens during that time from 1900 to, I think you just said 1920s, is that right?
That's when he died, but his influence, you could take that into the 50s.
Yeah, so it feels very academic and kind of intellectual. And
No, not at all.
No?
Not at all. These were practical teachings. They were teaching forms of meditation and other yogic practices. There was a lot of